I've never done this before. I can't believe I've been on YouTube for 5 years and I have never once. There's birds up there on that dude's house. I can't believe I've never once done a live stream on my phone. So, I don't know if anybody's gonna see this. Never done this before. My my laptop died, so I'm gonna be doing the rest of the stream here today on my phone. So, hi Martine Siebels in my backyard. Appreciate whoever's gonna tune in for tuning in. Let's see, who is that? Oh man, I can't see anything. Ya fam, what's up, dude? I'm gonna let a few people join. Looks like about 12 people in chat. This is cool. I didn't know you could do this. This is awesome. Too much info software for hardware to handle, just saying. Yeah. For this stream, you mean? Mr. Martine? JMDP. I need a selfie stick if I'm gonna do this more. Midas said, "Hey Jen." Yes, hello Jen, wherever she is. I have an aunt-in-law named Jen, spelled with 2 N's though. No, these days. Hey Gene, hi there. Hi there, Mike. Thank you for saying hi, Gene. Just kidding, Mide. Not much, chilling on your stream, fam. What up, bro? What's up, man? What's up, bro? Jeb. All right, like I said, I'm just gonna kind of keep going with what I was talking about here on this medium for whoever tuned in. We had 400 people watching the other stream. We'll probably get like 30 watching this just because people aren't used to me streaming on my phone, but we're gonna do it. How's no coffee? Not going too well because I have a toddler and another one on the way, and we keep going places in the middle of the night, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult to go off of coffee when your brain's dare I say addicted to it. I mean, that's the way it works. I like being honest with you guys and real. I've realized I don't think it's a very godly thing to, you know, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't go there, but I don't like the idea of drinking coffee every single day and my body being reliant on it. I want it to be something that I use when I need it, but I wouldn't drink alcohol every day. I'm not knocking anybody who drinks out coffee every day. I'm definitely not going to say you're insane or something. That's not the point I'm trying to make, but I don't want to do it. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm on my son's swing set. There are several other solutions if you need to know. What, caffeine? Yeah, as far as I'm going off of it, I'm going to try and fast for probably about 2 weeks to let my brain reset itself. If you guys don't know how coffee works, it basically, and anybody who knows better can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Essentially, what it does is it blocks the adenosine receptors in the synaptic gap in the synapses. That's my sister texting me. She just got to where she was going to. Okay, good deal. You can text me later. Sorry, she's probably watching this. Hi, Jesse. Anyway, blocks the synapses, so blocks the adenosine receptor. So the adenosine, which is the byproduct of cellular respiration through the chemical breakdown of adenosine triphosphate, it makes you feel tired, and the caffeine blocks the synaptic receptors for adenosine, so it just all builds up in the synaptic gap between your synapses, and then that adenosine, once the caffeine gets out of your system, just floods the synapses and makes you really tired. That's why you crash if you haven't had coffee in 3 hours, because your caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours, 7 hours, and the adenosine's all flooding back into your system that was built up there. It didn't actually get broken down because it's supposed to go through the neuron. So what happens is that your body ends up having more adenosine receptors so that it can have a proper function while taking into consideration the caffeine. So you're literally altering your brain chemistry by drinking coffee every single day. And I like my brain the way God made it. Again, I have no problem with coffee. I'm definitely not knocking it. I'm drinking coffee right now. But I'm going to try not to drink it every single day. Anyway, let's read a little bit of chat, and I'll get back on the subject that I was on earlier. Bitcoin can become difficult, but NFT will become more. I play Townstar on Gala Games, and NFT earns crypto. Gala in town, so I see that they are going up big chance. In morning, no coffee, headache. Exactly, you have a headache because all that adenosine's flooding in there, because you have twice as many, not the real number, but you get the point, twice as many adenosine receptors, and your body's like, oh, I'm super tired. And there's also a factor to play there in serotonin, which is one of the motivation chemicals, but nevertheless. Hi, Jeb and family. Happy New York. Would you ever talk about real estate in your future videos? Probably. Change ya. Got 50 people watching. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Not bad for the first one of these I've ever done. So anyway, what I was talking about on stream before I was so rudely interrupted by my laptop dying, which I might end up getting rudely interrupted by my phone dying too. What I was talking about is that 2023, I think, is going to be a shocking year for Bitcoin and crypto, and I'd love to hear your opinion of why, but let's just kind of put the thesis I'm trying to get at in a nutshell, and that is that 2023 is going to be shocking because it's going to be one of the most disruptive years for everything in human civilization that we've seen since probably the collapse of the Soviet Union. This is bigger than COVID. This is bigger than... I'm going to get taken down. Forgot I'm on YouTube just because I'm on a different medium. Doesn't mean I can say that. Bigger than the pandemic. We found out that that word's safe. Watch this just get taken down. Because freedom of speech doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, not going to get on that soapbox, although I could. What was I saying? Lost my train of thought. There it is. Found it. This is going to be the biggest year geopolitically since 1991, with the fall of the with the collapse of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the breakup of the USSR. Reason being, we are having a culminating effect from the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. It died down a little bit in 2022, but now it is tearing through China like it's nobody's business. Xi Jinping's zero COVID policy completely turned on its head a few months ago when all of the different governing regions, I forgot what they're called in China, but the different basically states of China were given the authority on whether or not to lock down businesses. And now in China, 3 months ago, if you were caught out with COVID, you could be arrested and your entire apartment block would be blockaded in. But nowadays, if you are not going to work because you have the pandemic, I think I said it again, oops. If you're not going to work because you have the flu, then you're going to get in trouble. So complete 180, that's a culture shock, and that's going to upset a lot of people. It's already upset a lot of people. There's a lot of people very mad. The reason that it broke out again is because of the millions of people protesting. We haven't seen that since a certain protest that I'll probably get flagged for saying the name of, but starts with a T and ends with a square. We have not seen protests on that caliber in decades in China, especially not since China has become the world power that it is to date. So China is in a pickle because China has huge internal conflict brewing. And again, you're probably wondering, I say this a lot, how does this relate to Bitcoin? It relates to Bitcoin because Bitcoin exists in the world. It's the same way that, stock market relates to this. It's a market and it's impacted by the rest of the world. And if you don't understand the rest of the world, you're never going to understand crypto to its fullest. Because that is the biggest driving force. So anyway, what I was saying is that Russia attacks Ukraine. Duh, that's a big one. Pandemic's likely going to pick up even more because it's broken out in China again, and there's almost no herd immunity in China because of the zero COVID policy. Use the strategy I use my son when I'm trying not to say cookie or something. Maybe that'll get me past YouTube. So you have the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, as I was saying on the stream, that's probably only going to get worse until at least the fall. We're likely not going to see peace talks until at least August, September, October territory. As far as not peace talks, there'll probably be peace talks, but not an actual peace agreement until then. You have a huge outbreak in China, which is going to shut the country offline for a couple of months, more than likely, because a lot of manufacturing is moving overseas from China, which is a funny statement. That's how you know we're not in the 2010s anymore, 2000s anymore. But there is still a lot of manufacturing in China, especially all the infrastructure. You can move people pretty easily. You can fire people in one country, hire them in another country in 3 months, but you can't move a factory in 3 months. You need 3 to 5 years. So a lot of the infrastructure for global manufacturing is in China, and a lot of that's about to go offline with another pandemic sweeping through their nation. Not to mention, China is threatening Taiwan in ways that they haven't in decades right now. Like huge incursions into their airspace are taking place. So there's a lot of geopolitical instability going on, not only in Europe right now, but also in the South China Sea. We've seen Tomahawk missiles sold to Japan for the first time. That's a pretty high-tech United States military hardware that we don't share with a lot of people. We just shared it with Japan for the first time. They're building up their defense force in a way they never have. So there's a lot of geopolitical instability just coming from the aggression of China and Russia. And that coupled with the still aftershocks and recovery of the pandemic is creating a very unstable world. And that's one of the, not one of, that is the reason why global financial markets are as low as they are. And why they're having such shocks as they are. That's why we're going through this. We were already feeling the brunt of the impact of dealing with all the inflation that was caused from all the money printing in 2020 and 2021. We were already trying to get that under control. And then February 24th happened last year. Russia invaded. A month later, the United States started raising interest rates. Notice, we didn't start raising interest rates until after the conflict began. Probably would have, but I would wager interest rates probably would not have gone as high as quick. They probably would have gone as high, but maybe not as fast, if not for the Russia-Ukrainian conflict. I think you would have seen more 25 and 50 basis point rate hikes, but the United States federal government and the Fed wants to maintain an extremely strong dollar so that we can use that dollar in the economic Cold War that's going on right now. This is the second Cold War, which is hopefully not going to turn into the Third World War. And as with the second Cold War, and as with the Second World War, as with the first Cold War, and as with the Second World War, it is a economic battle as well as a physical battle. The United States is only doing the physical, is only doing the economic side of it right now, but that's taking a toll on the economy. That's taking a toll on jobs. That's taking a toll on as far as the ability for tech companies to take out cheap debt. That's taking a toll on the ability for the economy to grow and expand, and we know it. But the implications of Russia conquering Ukraine could mean World War III, because if Russia conquers Ukraine, they go for NATO countries right next door. They start knocking on the door of Romania. They start knocking on the door of the Baltic states, Latvia, and its neighbors. Potentially Finland. If Russia conquers Ukraine, then that means that they're not given a reason to stop. And NATO doesn't want that. Russia doesn't have a lot to lose, so they don't want it either, but they're being run by a guy who is trying to secure his legacy. And we've seen in history how that transpires. So this is an extremely important battle. And so if you're a voter in the United States, just keep that in mind. That if Russia wins in Ukraine, that doesn't just mean that it sucks for the Ukrainians. It sucks for you too, because it's a global security issue for the free world, and it benefits only the Russians for the Russians to win, and it doesn't benefit them either because it's sin. It'll bring destruction on them the same way it would bring destruction on anybody for attacking someone needlessly like that. It is to the detriment of every single nation, and in a huge way, not just economically, but potentially as far as peace is concerned. This is a really, really, really important deal. So that's why I'm saying that this is going to be a shocking year for Bitcoin. This is a very, very, very geopolitically unstable year. We have the pandemic making a resurface. We're still dealing with it, by the way. The case numbers are just as high as they were in 2020. The case numbers have actually barely gone down at all. We've just gotten used to it. And the first world, the free world, has gotten a lot more immunity to it because we've been hit by Omicron, Delta, all the different variants of the pandemic at this point. So we have some natural immunity to it, and we have vaccines that might have some pretty nasty side effects, but they do at least seem to stop you from getting the pandemic to some degree. It's questionable. But the point is, how does Bitcoin fare in a world that is this unstable? And so that's the question I really want to talk to you about today, is how does Bitcoin fare in a world that's unstable? Well, there's two ways to look at that. First of all, park myself right here so I can not get blinded by the sun. First way to look at that is that this is exactly what Bitcoin was designed for. Bitcoin was designed for an unstable world. It was designed to capitalize on the weaknesses of central currencies. It was designed to capitalize on the weakness of central government. It was designed for a time where government was not going to be doing its job, whether your government or a government that's attacking you. Government's not doing its job to keep the peace and protect its citizens right now. The Russian government is the one I'm talking about, no other than maybe China. Bitcoin was designed for this world. It was designed for an unstable world. In fact, it was created to put to rest the instability of currencies. If these nations did not have the power over their currency, they would not have the power to finance their wars. 300-400 years ago, when you didn't have a lot of inflation you did have inflation, but you couldn't inflate it as easily because most of the currencies were gold backed. The king would have to go and actually tax his subjects to make the money. Nowadays, you can raise money by printing it because we're not on some kind of standard. Back in the day, wars were in very limited scope. I'm talking 300-400 years ago, before the Napoleonic Wars. They were very limited in scope because you had to fund them the same way an entrepreneur would have to fund them. You got to go find the money somewhere. You can't just make it out of thin air. Bitcoin is designed to eat at the power of governments that are financing evil things, as well as financing things for that matter. It definitely is a small... If you're a big government person, Bitcoin is not in alignment with your ideology, just so you know. I definitely think that the government has a place. I also definitely think it has overstepped that place, and I'm perfectly comfortable saying that. And Bitcoin definitely does adhere to that. So from the first perspective, you could say Bitcoin was actually designed for a world like this. It was designed for an unstable world to come in and provide much-needed stability that is trustless, built on a blockchain that you don't have to worry about a third party verifying, because as we found, we can't trust some third parties. There's two in particular in the eastern half of the world. And it's not just that you can't trust those two parties, you also can't trust that they're not going to mess things up for the other 198 parties or so that didn't and aren't trying to start a major regional conflict. One or two bad actors in the world can put the other 100 or 200 nations in the world under massive economic and humanitarian strain, at the same time causing untold human suffering and damage, which is the most important part, of course. So Bitcoin was designed for a world like this. Its use case actually shines the brightest on a backdrop of global instability driven by economics. That's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at global instability driven by, maybe not driven by, powered by economics, driven by human greed and human pride. Well, Bitcoin takes the human equation out of it because it's trustless and built on a blockchain that does not have that concern, because it's not human. It's not a human. And also it doesn't give power, monetary power, to a greedy individual, number one, because it only gives power to those who know how to trade it and know how to use it and know how to use it to store capital into the future. But you also can't inflate it so that you can make money out of thin air to go and finance your war. So it takes the power, it takes the drive and the power away and leaves you with a salient currency, a salient currency. I've been doing too much war studying. With a saleable currency that is solvent and is able to protect people's wealth. So that's from the first point of view. Bitcoin was actually designed for a world like this. The second point of view is that Bitcoin's ecosystem was not designed for a world like this. The cryptocurrency industry was not designed for a world like this. Bitcoin was. Hence why Bitcoin is the main thing that I'm investing in right now. When we do invest, we did a big investment back right after FTX crashed. That was the last major round of investment that we did. As I said, Bitcoin was created for this environment. The industry was not. The industry was built the same way the tech industry was built. It was built on a lot of centralized companies. It was built on a lot of products with teams behind them and capital raising and venture capital and building based off debt, cryptocurrency more than a lot of those. We looked at last week how Core Scientific has like a 25-to-1 debt to equity ratio. Absolutely absurd. The cryptocurrency market is violating one of the founding principles of crypto, which is don't invest more than you're willing to lose. And don't forget that Bible verse. There's a lot of them about the debt holder is the servant to the debt. The debtor is a servant to the debt holder. So we haven't really learned our lesson on that. So the crypto industry is not set up to take a blow like this. Here's why this is going to be a shocking turnaround for crypto in 2023. Number one, everybody who wasn't building their company in a way to survive something like this is going to go bankrupt. Most of them anyway. FTX was one. What's up, Dove? There's a bunch of doves around here right now. I like animals. Charles Hoskinson's a ornithologist. I interviewed him on the channel. I bet he'd be able to tell me what that was here. Anyway, train of thought. Let's get it back. Like I said, been up since 2:45. Sorry. The industry was not designed for this kind of environment. The industry was designed for a very stable environment, the likes of which that Alphabet was built on, as far as the parent company of Google, Amazon, Netflix, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, all those companies. That's what this Tesla, that's what the crypto industry is built on right now. It's built on the idea that the world is a solid state, unchanging world that's not going to get rocked by global conflict. We've had our assumptions broken to the core ever since the Russian-Ukrainian conflict and the pandemic. The world is not going to be the same year after year with a march of new technology and better phones and better cameras and better semiconductors with smaller architecture. We're down at 3 nanometers now. That won't go on forever. We've assumed a world of continuous technological advancement and continuing advancements in peace, and that is not how humanity works. We are at our core, in our flesh, born as greedy, prideful, evil beings, and we need Christ to come and put that to death and save us from the sin that we live in. Most of the world doesn't know Christ, and it acts the way that it does because of that. The crypto industry was built on the assumption that the markets were going to be stable. They were built on the assumption that crypto is the only unstable part of the equation, and that the U.S. dollar is stably going to lose value and it's not going to change that rate of decay. That the stock market is going to continue going up and to the right, and that you're going to be able to find cheap debt for 3% or 4% on your business loan. It's not the way it works. So everybody that built on that assumption is going to go bankrupt, or they're going to have to restructure, and what's left is going to be a much more resilient industry. 2023 is going to shock you for a few reasons. Number one, it is going to be a very unstable year, unfortunately, based on the way it looks right now. Number two, Bitcoin specifically was designed to thrive in that environment. Number three, the crypto industry was not. Therefore, the parts of the industry that were are going to thrive, and you're going to see a lot of growth from them. And the parts of the industry that were not are going to have to adapt or die. And four, you're likely going to see Bitcoin bottom out and continue, start a new uptrend at some point in the next 3 to 6 months. That's the shocking part, is that on this backdrop, Bitcoin still has a very strong chance of rallying. And that's a really amazing thing, that even despite how broken the world is right now, even despite how broken crypto is right now, I'm going to take a seat right here in this lawn chair. Even despite how broken crypto is right now, we're still likely to see Bitcoin bottom and go through a rally. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, I think you're going to see the interest rates plateau. I think you're going to see CPI come down. I think you're going to see our economy, as far as, when I say our, I mean the cryptocurrency sector, start getting more accustomed to the idea of building without massive amounts of debt and venture capital. You're going to see the growth of smaller companies that before were not able to grow because they weren't willing to take on all that debt, and they weren't willing to follow stupid business practices, and they weren't willing to do things the wrong way. They were only willing to do it the right way, even if that sacrificed them growth. But now their integrity is a competitive advantage against those that are currently on their way out. So I think you're going to see a growth in the smart money entrepreneurs, not just the smart money investors, but a growth in the smart money entrepreneurs and a decline in the dumb money entrepreneurs in the crypto space that built on the back of cheap debt, cheap labor, abundantly available labor, and investing in tiny crap altcoins. You're also going to see a major shedding in the value of altcoins, even good projects like Cardano. Cardano's down 95% from all-time high, and it's done it before, and it might do it again. I think it'll recover at least to all-time high in the next 8 years, but it could take time. You're going to see a shrinking in the dumb money in crypto and a growing in the smart money in crypto, and you're going to see the bedrock grow. And again, the reason it's going to be a shocking year for crypto is this. Despite how difficult of a year it's going to be, watching a lizard over there, I used to catch those all the time. Brown anole, they're invasive from Cuba. Despite how difficult of a year it's going to be, I think Bitcoin is still going to thrive. And I think you're still going to see more people coming to understand the good news of crypto, if you will. The gospel is the good news as far as it is the good news, capital T-H-E, the good news. But Bitcoin brings its own form of good news. It brings its own form of what word shall I use that isn't going to put it in the place of God, because I definitely don't want to do that. It brings its own form of hope. It's not the ultimate hope, but it does. It gives you some form of hope over the current traditional financial systems. So in short, as I said, 2023 going to be a difficult year for a lot of people. And it's a year that if you're a believer, like I am, and like my family, or at least my wife is. My son's 2, so he's not a believer yet, but I'm praying that I pray every single day that he'll come to Christ soon, at a very young age. Probably won't be soon, but as far as at a young age, we're praying every single day for salvation, and also for, I want to pray every single day for the world, and I want to pray every single day for Ukraine and for the people that are being that are suffering. Otis said, "Wait, is this live?" I suppose it is, since I'm reading your comment. Yes, it is live. Anyway, hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm going to go ahead and catch up on chat here. Pine Pollen. Brent Hit Outdoors said, "Go Jeb. My mom thinks privacy on the internet still exists, lol." Yeah, it doesn't really. Everything is crazy right now. If people go hungry, they won't be thinking about crypto. A lot of them won't be thinking about crypto. The people that would be going hungry through unfortunate circumstances rather than bad decisions might actually turn to crypto to help them get out of that situation. So a lot of them probably won't. The pandemics are exacerbated politically. Maybe. Fact is, they've had a huge impact geopolitically, whether they're exacerbated or not. Do you think Bitcoin will see 10,000? If you see one more black swan, like a Crypto.com, a Binance, a Coinbase going down, if you see China attack Taiwan, if you see the S&P 500 drop a lot, if you see, for some reason, another 75 basis point and the Fed decides to go hawkish again, even more hawkish than they were this last rate hike on December the 2nd, on February 14th, February 13th, 14th, I think is the next meeting, then potentially. Unless there's a black swan, I don't think so, because I think Bitcoin's finding a pretty strong equilibrium at this level, but I've said before that I thought the bottom was in, and it went lower. So the thing is, if it went to 10%, $10,000, that would be 85% retrace from all-time high, and that's exactly where Bitcoin goes during bear markets. So I'm absolutely not going to rule it out. I think it is slightly more likely that you're going to see the market bottom out around 15K like it has right now, maybe 12 to 13. Let's see. Why hasn't Bitcoin taken off in the context of global war and security? Well, because people have their confidence in the number of men and tanks they have rather than in Bitcoin. Bitcoin was never built with the expectation of the world powers adopting it first. One day they might, but the people that were always expected to adopt Bitcoin were the underdog that were being, whether intentionally or not, oppressed by the system that was not, I use that word very lightly because it's used out of context a lot nowadays, but were in one way or another being oppressed by the financial system that is stealing their wealth through inflation, because that is a form of oppression. If you've only got one currency that you're able to use because it's your national currency and it's what's used all over the place and it's being inflated 10, 20, 30, 50% a year, Argentina, Zimbabwe, not Zimbabwe, Nigeria, all these different nations that have gone through that, Zimbabwe too, actually, then that is a form of, you're being held down by your currency. Let's see. So as far as the context of global war and security, that's not really the use case of it, because that's actually kind of the enemy of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin were adopted, I'm not saying it would bring global peace, because it definitely would. And the only thing that would bring global peace is global following of the Lord Jesus Christ, because while he's not a pacifist, he does desire for people to have peace. He says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the kingdom of God," in the Beatitudes in Matthew 5. But so he loves peace, although there's not always the time for peace. But until we have that, until we have him as king of our lives, then we're not going to have global peace. We're going to have conflict. And it's sad, but it's true. It's very simple, but it's hard, because a lot of people don't want to accept him as their king. And I didn't want to for many years. I tell you what, I was one of the most prideful, hard-headed people, and I still am a lot of times, that you ever could be. I thought I could explain where the universe came from, so what did I need God for? That's what I thought. Little did I know that that's not the point. And now I realize that actually that explanation is found in the Word, and it is true. But everybody's got a reason that they don't believe. And if you're interested, you can always email us, support@cryptojeb.com. I would love to talk to you about the Lord. Anyway, let's keep reading chat here. Wait, is this live? Yeah, like I said, it is live. Awesome. Didn't think you were coming back. Yes, no, I'm coming back. I'm going to be on for another 5 minutes or so. Really apologize for the stream going down and my laptop dying. What do you think it'd be like to kick it with Jeb? Do you have any friends like him? I don't know. I just like to hang out. I'm a pretty easygoing kind of guy. I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I like to talk about the Word. I love the Lord. that's my modus operandi. I don't have another motive. I don't have a motive to steal your money or, lead you astray. My goal is to, and I'll be very honest about this. My goal is that you would come to know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and if I can teach you things about the gospel while I'm teaching you what you came for, which is crypto, then great. And if you walk away from this stream closer to the Lord, then that's my goal. And if you walk away from this stream being more financially sovereign, then that's my goal too. And I'd love for you to have either one of those things. Obviously, I'd give up every penny I had and will ever have and have ever had for the gospel if I had to. But it's not a bad thing to be financially sovereign either. It's a very good thing. The Bible talks a lot about money and the importance of growing it and being a good steward of it, not being greedy, but growing it. We should see the strength of Bitcoin in the context of money printing, but we aren't. Why? Bitcoin is still a remarkably small asset class compared to the US dollar, compared to these other currencies. The US dollar is worth at least $30 trillion, if not a lot more. Bitcoin's not even close. So that does have an impact, and we see it in the inverse correlation between the Dixie and the US dollar. I'm sorry, the Dixie and the Bitcoin market. It's almost a perfect inverse correlation. It's about as good as you're going to get. If you go into Tradingview and you plot one of them over the other and you put the inverse of Dixie, they follow each other almost identically over the last 10 years. So there actually is a pretty strong correlation there. I enjoy your content and glad you are back on here. I am here, and I'm thinking, tell me what you guys think. I really want to hear what you guys think. I'm really thinking about starting another channel where I do the kind of Sunday sermon videos, and I talk about the Lord, and I share that with you, because I really want to share that with you guys. And it being on another channel makes it'd be cataloged, and I'll still do it here. I'm not going to change anything on this channel, but it would just be more, because I really have a lot to say on my heart. But I will continue, and I will never stop talking about the Lord on this channel. But I also understand that you guys came for crypto, and I want to be respectful of that at the same time. So I'm thinking about doing another channel for the sake of putting even more content over there. So let me know what you think. A lot of comments coming in. Golly. Personally, I do not, but not by choice, just because I don't mean. Oh, well, thank you, Seth. I appreciate that. I just want you guys to know I definitely don't think highly of myself, of the flesh. The Paul says in the Word to reckon your flesh dead. It says in Romans 6:11. Likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto God through Jesus Christ our Lord. It says in Colossians 3:3, for ye are dead and your life saved with Christ in God. The flesh, which is where the sin in your life is coming from, Christ wants to indwell in you and give you freedom over that, but he wants to put that to death. And in my flesh, I am no better than anybody else. In fact, I'm the worst of sinners. And but I have a powerful God in heaven who's freed me from that if I would choose to obey him and walk in that and believe that I'm dead to it. We came for Jeb, doing God's work. I hope. Not gonna lie, a little jealous of that sunshine right now. I haven't seen the sun in a while. Neither have we. It was so foggy this morning. I would tune in for a sermon type on Sunday. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing 2-3 videos a day or so, just like little 5-10 minute videos where I'm not even worried about tying it back into crypto. I'm just talking about the Lord. May end up doing that. What was Superman's dog's name? No clue. Do the channel, use your gift. Might do it. I like the peaceful lawn too. Yeah, lawn's a bit of a mess. We got toys all over the place from when our nieces and nephews were here. Do it on this channel. I will still talk about the Lord on this channel as I'm doing right now. That'll never stop. But it would allow me to kind of focus things a little bit more. Not that I'm definitely not ashamed of the gospel. That is not the reason I'd be putting out another channel at all. It'd just be for the sake of being able to find it more easily and it just being more cataloged and yeah. So tell me what you think. Jeb will bring even more light to my life as a friend, positive, good spirit, follows the Lord's word. Look, here's the thing, guys, is that if anything good you're hearing from me, you are hearing what Christ is saying. Anything bad that you're hearing is from Jeb McAfee. That's the way it works. If you go in the Word, it says talks about in Romans 7, I think it is. Ye are the servant. I'm paraphrasing. It's in Romans 7. Ye are the servant to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. And when it says death, it's talking about spiritual death. It says the flesh is at enmity with all things of God. In Galatians 6, is it? Yes. Sorry, Galatians 6, I think it is. It says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There are 9 fruits, and it says there against these things there is no law. Those are all wonderful things. I think we would all agree those are wonderful things, right? They're all fruits of the Spirit. But right before that, it says the works of the flesh are strifes and contentions and all these things that we hate. The flesh is totally evil, and the Spirit of God is totally perfect. And if you ever see somebody doing something bad, it's the flesh or it's the enemy. If you see somebody doing something good, that's God. I have no room to take credit for a single good thing that I've ever done in my entire life, at all. And I would hope that you wouldn't give me any of the credit for it. It's all God. And I also kind of want to apologize because I feel like there have been times where I've taken credit for good that's happened to me, blessings, or good that I've done, moral standing, and that's not mine to take. And if I've done that, I apologize and I repent, because in me there is no good thing. In Christ there is nothing but good things. So if you see me do something that is good, and there are things that we do that are good, then that's the Lord at work, and He should be the one that gets the glory. And it's prideful and selfish of me to take it from Him, because He's the author of good, and my heart's all evil. So anyway, I'm getting on a little bit of a tirade. Wanted to tell you guys what 2023 is going to look like, and I wanted to show you how Bitcoin's going to thrive in it, and I think it's going to be really great. Restarted James today. So many good things in that book. Yeah, I'm memorizing a few verses in James. James 1:19 through 27. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. That's 1:19. And then 1:22 says, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. And then it talks about it. If a man looks into, you probably know this if you're reading James, but for everybody else, it talks about in James, looking a person that knows the law of God and knows what they're supposed to do and looks into the mirror is like a person that looks into it and then they don't do it. It's like a person that looks into a mirror and turns away and forgets what they look like. It says at the end of James chapter 1. And but be doers of the word, not hearers only. Man, how many times do we know what we ought to be doing and we're not doing it? That's because we're still in the flesh. Love is pure wisdom. Thanks, Jeb. It's crypto. I'm more hungry for preachers like Bill Johnson and Kenneth E. Hagin and Bob Jones, but I love your info on crypto with food of Jesus in it. I'm not familiar with those guys, but probably very wonderful preachers. Let's see. Do the channel, use your gift. I really appreciate that. The Lord has definitely given me a gift, and I do want to use it the way that He would have me. Anyway, I will pray about that and consider that. Anyway, I'm going a little over time. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Sorry about the laptop thing. I'm going to buy a laptop today and get some work done on all that. I'm going to go ahead and go and get some work done. Thank you guys so very much for watching. And tell me also in the comments and in Twitter or wherever that if you'd like to see more live streams like this on my phone. I'd love to do it. Really appreciate all of you guys. Peace. I don't know how to end this thing. I feel old.